So with Buffalo holding the first overall pick this year in this year's draft, I was decided to take it upon myself to do a little bit of research and look into their cap situation, the players they have on their roster, and so on and so forth, but also prospects they have already that they've drafted and started to develop. And it came to my attention that a player I thought was actually, pretty decent top six player, might maybe even make the argument of a first line player in Kyle Okposo, has been really underperforming on his of late in the last couple seasons in Buffalo, and I was really surprised. So if you're unfamiliar with his stats, so in his first season with Buffalo after signing his contract, which I believe was a 7-year contract, so it would be a 7-year contract taking him from to 2022-2023 season. Then after that he's a free agent. So in those first 2 seasons of that contract, making $6 million a season. The Buffalo forward has put up in 65 games in his first season. He put up 19 goals with 26 assists for 45 points. So 45 points in 65 games. That's not that bad when you look at it as a whole. But then you get into last season where they were a worse team, and he played 76 games, so he played more games. He put up 15 goals with 29 assists for 44 points. So he's staying consistent around 45 to 50 points, and that is underperforming for his contract. For the amount of money he's getting paid, you can get that type of production from a guy for probably half of his salary, maybe a little bit more than half, but close enough to that amount of his salary. And that is a huge issue for the Buffalo Sabres moving forward on with Kyle Okposo, not because he's a bad player per se, but because of his contract and the amount of money he's taking up on their cap. As it stands right now, Buffalo is in a weird situation compared to other teams. Jack Eichel is going to be making $10 million a season until he's like 100, so that's a big contract. Ryan O'Reilly is making $7.5 million, which is another massive contract, and Kyle Okposo is making $6 million for like the next 5 years, I guess it would be. That is a lot of money they're dishing out. Now, yes, Jason Palmerville's $5.6 million cap hit is ending because he's now a UFA, but after that, they don't have a lot of cap right now, and with Rasmus Dahlin being a generational talent on the blue line, they're going to need to have all the cap they can get to sign him. And the problem is right now, similar to what Edmonton has done, they've handcuffed themselves to these contracts that are almost unmovable and have probably stunted the growth because of it due to other players. They have to use these guys for the time being because of the fact that they take up so much cap. It's a very similar situation to other contracts, like the Milan Lucic contract, the Kyle Turris contract. I would even compare it to probably the Andrew Ladd contract, and maybe even the Louis Eriksson contract that Vancouver has. These are players that are not that bad. Louis Eriksson's pretty bad, but they're not that bad, being paid too much money, and it's going to affect the team overall. Now, this video I decided to make not because I feel like I should bash Kyle Okposo. I actually really like Kyle Okposo. He's always been a good player in my opinion, but the problem is that he is not reaching that amount of success he needs to be able to reach to make Buffalo and his contract, worth the amount they're spending on him. When you're making $6 million, you're the third highest paid player on the payroll. You need to perform, and having 45 points or however many points it was this year, 44 points, and that's not good enough. Now, the big issue comes is whether or not trading Kyle Okposo is a good idea. Personally, I think it's a good idea for one reason only, not because he's a bad player. Now, I don't want Buffalo fans to get, bash on me for this. I think Kyle Okposo is a great player. I actually think he's the type of player you want to help develop guys because he's a good player. But for the amount of money you're paying him, he's not worth it. Now, I don't have to like the Ryan O'Reilly contract at 7.5, but I think Ryan O'Reilly is definitely a better player than Kyle Okposo, so I can live with that amount of money. I can think keeping Ryan O'Reilly is a better option. When it comes to Kyle Okposo, that contract needs to be moved. Now, maybe not this season, maybe not next season, but you cannot ride that contract out. That is a horrible idea. You will just put yourself in cap hell when you look at the guys coming up, because Sam Reinhart is also a restricted free agent. Now, yes, Sam Reinhart's been underperforming, but he still has a lot of potential to grow. Casey Middlestat is also on his entry level. That expires in the 2019-2020 season. After that, he will be an unrestricted free agent requiring cap. I'm just trying to tell you all of this because, as you know, as Buffalo fans, you are in a situation where you do not have that many options to sign players. Right now, they're projecting you have $20 million in cap space. That is a lot of money. Yes, it is. You were correct. But you have to sign some players that are important, and also you have you have contracts kicking in that are going to be cap held for you. Both your goalies are unrestricted. Are gone. They're free agents. One unrestricted, but both free agents. You have Josh Georges, unrestricted free agent. Justin Falk. You can lose these guys, but they're unrestricted free agents. You know, Sam Reinhart, as I said before, Benoit Pouliot, Scott Wilson, Jordan Nolan. These are guys that you have to choose whether or not you want to sign. As it stands right now, Buffalo isn't in a really big situation to compete, and they won't be for a couple more years. And when I mean compete, I mean for like that wild card spot. But they are gonna get better, and it comes with time. But the key aspects here are making sure you have you can sign players that'll help you for contracts that are not like this. Like right now, they have so much cap invested into their top. They have over $20 million invested into one line. Into one line. No, like that's not even including their Rasmus Ristolainen, whose contract's 5.4. Now that's a good contract for Ristolainen. Defense is a hard, is not easy to come by, and he's a great player. But what I'm trying to say is that I think trading him in the future is a better decision than be riding out his entire contract. He's a great player. Kyle Okposo is going to be a guy you want to have on your roster, and I'm not bashing your GM for signing him. He made a move and a decision to get a player who, honestly, a lot of GMs would have considered to get in the situation that Buffalo was in. And is it paying off to the point where, they're getting 60-point seasons out of the guy for $60 million? No, but, is he helping win games? He can, but, is he a defensive liability as well? Because he has a minus 34 in a plus-minus category this season. That's horrible. Considered he was only a minus 7 the year before that. That is room to grow, but that also may be because they were just a bad team. You can't, plus minus is really a dead stat in my opinion. Like, you can look at it with a grain of salt, like, oh, this guy had a horrible plus minus, but look at the team he's on. So I don't bash on Kyle Okposo for having a horrible plus minus, but you have to take that into consideration as well, that might be an aspect that you may not want to keep him on your team. Now, where would I see Kyle Okposo going if, Buffalo was to take calls for him? I would like to see him probably going to a team that is in a situation where they can have a little bit of cap flexibility but need that top 6 piece. Now, it's really hard to look around for something like this. Personally, I think that, the Islanders was a great fit for him with Johnny T, but I'm going to make a video talking about John Tavares later, so you never know what could happen there. But there are a lot of teams right now that would be looking at a guy like Kyle Okposo. A team I could honestly really see making a move for him, the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, I think that they're in a situation where they need to add more, veteranosity to their team, and I think that Kyle Okposo brings a lot of that. Him playing with that team would be good, but it also looks like Carolina might be looking to blow it up, trading Justin Falk and Scott Darling after just acquiring Scott Darling for the one season so far into his contract. So it just depends on what, it's really hard to say. A team like Carolina would be a great fit for Kyle Okposo, but at the same time, Buffalo would be a great fit for him as well. So I don't think trading Kyle Okposo is a great idea. I've been seeing rumors flying around with Kyle Okposo, with Ryan O'Reilly. Now, I don't think these are good rumors because even though these players may be overpaid in my opinion, that's just my opinion. As someone who's a Jets fan, we've got really good contracts, like the Mark Scheifele contract, the Nick Ehlers contract. They're really, really good contracts. Really, really team-friendly contracts, and that's probably why I'm looking at it with, that view of how players should be signed if you can manage to do that. But this was also a different signing than developing a guy through your system and having him be involved in your team than just signing a guy in free agency. But Kyle Okposo, if Buffalo fans want to see Kyle Okposo go, I understand that because their team, they want change, but I thought about in the offseason, probably around the deadline, I honestly thought Buffalo blow it up. Trade Okposo, trade Ryan O'Reilly, just get those two guys out of there, bring in picks and everything like that, but they didn't. They're riding it out. Now, I think this free agency will be a huge, huge impact because I think the draft as well will be, of course, important, but the draft will depend, whether or not the draft will be a major step in improving him with drafting him at first overall, or a franchise memorable event will be because they first of all they draft Dahlin, but also they make a trade to get another first round pick, maybe even mid or top lottery pick with Okposo or O'Reilly, because as much as I don't want them to go, that's a great, if you can get a first like that, that's good, because this draft is stacked. That would be a huge bonus for their team. Have a young guys on entry-level contracts, really affordable. You can bring in maybe some other free agents to give it a try, see if it'll work. Kyle Okposo, maybe he's just not working in Buffalo, unfortunately. That happens with some players. They just don't work where they go, and then they get moved and they put up 65, 70-point seasons. But Kyle Okposo is a good player, and trading him probably is not the best decision for Buffalo at the moment because of the fact that they are still a very young team with a lot of holes in their lineup, and trading Kyle Okposo at the same time might create opportunity. It also might take away opportunity. So that is why I think that Kyle Okposo getting traded is not the worst thing in the world to happen, but still, yet alone, not the best decision that a GM can make when it comes to looking at their team as a whole, and whether or not taking away to possibly fix holes in their roster is worth that possibility of not plugging in a guy that will not fit and be actually worse than what Okposo has been doing. Because 44 points, 45 points, it's not good. It's not good, unfortunately. But the team is bad, so you have to take that with a grain of salt. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend fans, but you don't get the first overall pick for being a Stanley Cup contender. And I know that you guys have gone through a rough time right now. I see it all the time in the highlights, and you guys have some good young pieces and some veteranosity pieces that will help you. You guys are gonna get through this. This first round pick is gonna be really, really important for you. Just think about how good your power play will be. You guys are on the right step to improving and making your mark in the East, and you'll get there one day. Just don't worry about. Try not to think too much about trading these guys, because although they might be underperforming for their cap, they're not the worst players in the league to have on your roster. Maybe ride it out for a couple more seasons with them, but don't trade them yet. Don't blow them up just yet, because you might actually be surprised on what you can get from them. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Just me talking about some Buffalo stuff. I actually really am starting to like this team for some reason. I don't know if it's the old logo connection from when I was a kid or whatever it is, but Jack Eichel and all this stuff. You guys have some interesting pieces, and I'm definitely looking forward to see what you guys can do next season when you add Dallin and all those other pieces you might possibly get in free agency and at the draft. So, you guys have a lot of potential. Just don't blow it up just yet. Thanks so much for watching, guys. As always, I'm the Canadian Zombie. Peace out, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.